The TikTok ban is set to take effect on January 19th, unless the Supreme Court takes action. Join us now for the legal proceedings going on until that deadline. Nikki Kristof, CEO of consulting firm Kristof and Company.
What's going to happen, in my view, is that the Supreme Court is going to uphold this ban. It's a really well-written law. The First Amendment arguments have totally failed, and they have no real reason not to uphold the ban. Now, President Trump, which we can talk about, has weighed in with an amicus brief asking them to delay past his inauguration, but I think this goes forward on January 19th.
And what would that mean at that point?
So we don't know exactly what we don't know what it'll look like for users. It means that the app stores can no longer let people download it, so Apple, Google, but you'll still have TikTok on your phone. Whether or not it'll work is sort of to be seen. It's up to TikTok what they do with user data. Ultimately, though, eventually you will have a worse and worse product experience because you won't be able to upgrade it.
Bunga, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of BAV. This is Bunge Audio Visual. This is the place you get updates, getting the TV vibes and radio vibes at the same time. So let's talk about the TikTok ban, the looming TikTok ban in the US that actually taken effect 19th January 2025. So, initially kulikuwa na hii story I think ni vizuri nikiongelea. So there's a point kulikuwa na story ili come up and it was just a warning. So kulikuwa na hii story ya TikTok na the US kulikuwa na post kulikuwa na kitu ilipostia on the social media platforms just to notify the citizens in the US that the TikTok will be banned in the US starting Sunday unless its Chinese parent company sells it according to a Supreme Court decision. Then President Joe Biden has stated he will not enforce the ban during his last President Joe Biden has stated he will not enforce the ban during his last hours in office, leaving the decision to Donald Trump when he takes over on Monday. Following the Supreme Court's unanimous 9-0 vote for the ban, the White House issued a statement suggesting that TikTok should still be accessible to Americans. The White House said the TikTok should remain available to Americans, but it needs to be under American ownership or another ownership that addresses the national security issues raised by the Congress in creating this law. So, in short, the reason as to why wanataka ban TikTok, or rather the TikTok ban has already taken effect in the US, is because the government is actually trying to control the flow of information. As most of you know that as most of you know that the reason as to why magava ingilia vitu za wanapiga recently wamekuwa kufanya crackdowns across various social media platforms is because they actually want to control the flow of information, or instead they want to be in control of what you are supposed to be shown and what you're not supposed to be shown. Na si TikTok tu, pia kumekuwa na some apps zimekuwa zikiface some sort of issues when it comes to matters concerning its use in various countries. For example, an app that I talk about, a good example that I can be able to give you is the Telegram app. Telegram app imekuanga na some features zenye zimekuwa zinafanya most of the governments wanna feel very very uncomfortable allowing it to be used in their countries because some information zinakuanga it's so difficult to control because features zenye app imekuja nazo iko beyond the government's control. For instance, some content kama za the explicit content kama ya pornography, mambo na murder, body, mambo na injuries, mambo na harm. Hizo ni vitu zenye Telegram inapatia most of the users freedom ya kushare such kind of content, and most of the government na pia some of the secrets zimekuwa zikileak, na pia ziko na advanced features to the point that hauwezi jua whom exactly shared that sort of information. So most of the governments wanna feel ni kama wamekuwa put in check because wanna feel ni kama wame lose their control, because once a certain government has lost control of information, it means you all know that information is power, and once a government has lost the control of information, it means that they actually their existence is at stake. It means that at any given time they can be overturned by the kind of or rather they can be overwhelmed by the kind of information yenye wananchi watakuwa natuma. A good example is how time kumekuwa na protest, you've seen most of the movements, or rather most of the activities zinakuwa planned across various social media platforms, unaona, like Twitter and so many other platforms. So iban ya TikTok US, I think ni kitu tu gava ina try to Gava inataka tu kutake control. So in short, wanataka tu mtu mwenye wanataka tu mse mwenye anakuwa in charge of that particular application akwe a US citizen, so that they can be able to actually control the owner of that particular application, so that they can be able to control the flow of information regarding the kind of objectives that watakuwa wanataka kuachieve as a government. So I'm also going to go through whatever kuna vitu zimekuwa zikipostiwa. So talking about the TikTok ban, apparently mnajua TikTok imebaniwa and most of the people were anticipating in the US about most of the people were actually eagerly waiting for the Supreme Court to intervene, or some popular influencers like Mr. Beast, or political figures like Donald Trump to save the day. But unfortunately all was actually in vain. So kulikuwa na hii post ya Mr. Beast, alikuwa anasema okay fine, I'll buy TikTok so it doesn't get banned. Hiyo ni kitu alipost juzi, I think that was 6 days ago. Then there is also a point yenye nataka pia ku read out for you. Kuna pia hii post ilikuwa inasema TikTok has officially been banned in the US hii ni ya leo 19th January 2025. So na ilikuwa inasema TikTok has officially been banned in the US. The law prohibiting the distribution of the social media application in the United States took effect on January 18th. So it'll take effect on January 18th, but sasa leo ndio kitu imefanyika huko, ndio actually imekuwa fully fledged. Then kulikuwa pia na hii post nyingine inasema TikTok will be banned in the US starting Sunday unless its Chinese parent company sells it according to the Supreme Court decision. So tumeona mse kama Donald Trump alikuwa anasema the US alikuwa na announce plans to issue an executive order that would allow TikTok's parent company in China more time to find a buyer approved by the US, preventing a permanent ban on the app. Then pia kuna huyu Mr. Beast mwambia alikuwa anasema alikuwa anasema he's actually interested in buying the TikTok to prevent its ban, because anajua the kind of effect inaenda ku bring to most of the users who actually registered on the app, because most of the users in the US, I think US in among the leading countries in the users of TikTok worldwide. I think it's among the top three countries that is the largest number of users on TikTok. Then kuna pia Brazil. There are so many countries. So it really means that most of the people are actually going to have a problem when it comes to generating revenue, because unapata squeeze social media inapatia wase wengi sana revenue. That is how most of the people actually earn a living in developed countries, instead of kufanya hizi kazi za 9 to 5. Most of the people are actually social media creatives, and for such an action to be taken by the government, or rather by a certain country, it means that it's going to have a very very negative effect to most of the users, for especially kwa walikuwa wana rely on it heavily to earn a living, or rather to chase their wildest dreams. Unapata wa content creators mob wenye depend on TikTok walakuja kupata some financial issues in the near future, as they actually try on uplifting the ban. So I don't know what are sentiments about the TikTok ban. Do you really think that the ban is actually going to be uplifted, ama mnafikiria this is something that is actually going to take some time before wakuje to make the final decision? So and my question still remains, now what happens after the ban has been uplifted? Does it mean that after an American now owns the app legally, does it mean that there are actually some the government is actually going to control like 70% of the application, or rather is it going to control like 80% of the information that is actually going to flow in that kind of application? So comment section iko hapo chini, kindly like, subscribe, and share with us your comments, or rather your opinions on matters concerning the TikTok ban that has just taken effect on 18th January 2025 in the US. Comment section iko hapo chini. Stay tuned for more updates.